Hello, YouTube friends. Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today I want to talk with you about five misconceptions on African cichlids, about keeping African cichlids and the African cichlid species. These are ones that I've observed personally, that I have personal experience with. Certainly, if you've come across some that you were told were true, that later on turned out to be false based on your own direct observation, share them below because I want to hear about them. We certainly have what I would call false information that floats around the hobby, and I've even been one to further it after after later observing for myself or doing more research, discover that what had been passed on to me as a rock solid truth was actually not the case. So here are five misconceptions about African cichlids. And number one is that a peaceful African cichlid tank is impossible. And that's not true. That's just simply not true. Right now I have 2 out of my 3 tanks I would consider to be peaceful tanks. And the 60-gallon that you see here runs pretty peacefully with a very rare chase, and which ends very quickly and never ends up in any kind of damage, and is not what I would consider an aggressive or violent tank whatsoever. Now, granted, some fish have graduated out of this tank that were discovered to be becoming a bit aggressive, and then they were moved up to a tank where they had to calm down because they didn't have the size or the strength or pecking order or level of aggression to actually be dominant in that tank. The most recent example, of course, was the Livingstoni, the Nimbochromis livingstoni, which was moved to the 100 for a short period, and then from the 100 is now in the 150, where he is doing fine. The 100, as you can see here, is actually a very peaceful tank, and has only had the only sign of violence or aggression that it's had was when I tried to give the Borlei quad that's in the 150 right now a rest by putting him in the 100, and he started chasing fish around and tried to assert his dominance. And even my wife mentioned to me, why is there so much chasing and splashing when this tank is normally so peaceful? So I went ahead and took him out and moved him back into the 150. You can hear about it in my in one of my prior videos having to do with moving day. I think the cover is a moving day. I'll post a link up here, and it's the one with the fish carrying the suitcase. And so he was put back in the 150. Now, the 150 is a big predator tank that has in it some large fish, and in there some Nimbochromis and things of this nature, which on the scale of aggression tend to be more aggressive. So that tank is aggressive, but it's known to be an aggressive tank, and it is watched carefully with that in mind. So so you can have a peaceful African cichlid tank. Certainly, if you have one, comment below. Let me know about the mix that you have and how long you've had that piece in that tank. Number 2 is that females have no color. Now, certainly with Mbuna, you know that Mbuna have color just like the males, and often in some cases can be even more spectacular in their size, and so I'm talking more about the peacocks and haps, and I have been fooled by fish like the Malawi hawk in the tank behind me. You see him right there. That fish fooled me for a long time with flashes of color on her side, and a little color in the gills, and it just kept me hoping that that fish was going to become a male, that was just going to be a late blooming male. And of course it never happened. It turned out to be a female, but there was color along the way and flashes of color that fooled me into thinking it was a male. And so it is a misconception that females have no color. They can have color. I've seen it, and don't get fooled by it. Number 3 is you can't put more than one Nimbochromis in a tank. And certainly when I first started to grow out some Nimbochromis, I had people telling me that I was headed for a train wreck, for one person called it a battle royale. And but I can say overall, especially when you consider that I have a very large Venusus in here and a very large Fusco, both from that family, and now I've added a Livingstoni in there. I have been able to have Nimbochromis coexist for a certain amount of time. In the 60, there's 2 Livingstonis in there. I'm not rehoming them, even though I have what I consider to be the most spectacular male in this tank. I'm going to hang back and watch those because I've had late bloomers that turned out to be spectacular. So I'm going to hold on to those for a little while, and if they do turn out to be 2 females or 1 male that doesn't look that spectacular, then I'll consider rehoming both of them. But for right now, I'm holding on to them. But yes, you can put more than 1 Nimbochromis in a tank, and you don't have to raise them up from babies. Of course, the Livingstoni was added to this tank after, and the one that's in there now, and he's probably small enough where he doesn't seem like a threat. And as time goes on, perhaps he'll just become part of the scenery, and hopefully the Venusus and the Fusco will never feel threatened by him. Right now, they're coexisting fine, so we're in a moment of peace in that tank. Number 4, African cichlid females, right? Brooding females, mouth brooders. When they release their young, they will not eat their young. That is not true. I have had a couple occurrences, most recently twice with a female Lethrinops redcap, a fish that you wouldn't consider necessarily a aggressive fish, who immediately, maybe because she hadn't eaten for 20 days, she immediately dined on her young. And so that was my personal experience. If you feel that there's something different from that, or maybe you feel, I don't know, maybe they died in the evening, and since they were dead, she went ahead and ate them. I don't know. All I know is the next morning there were no fries in the little structure I had her in. I had her in this net with her and just her fries. And the next morning there wasn't a trace of any of her fry in there, and she had at least 10 of them, 10 little wigglers. So ACs, African cichlids, females, based on my experience, will eat their young. Number 5, as you might have imagined from the thumbnail, eye biters. They will not bite everybody's eyes. Nobody in the tank behind me, after a pretty long period of time, no one in the tank behind me is missing an eye or has had an eye damaged by the eye biter. The eye biter doesn't seem that interested in other fish eyes. Maybe that's because I keep them well fed. Maybe it's because I don't know. Maybe it's that particular temperament of that eye biter. But in the eye biters that I've owned throughout time, and I've owned maybe 3, maybe 4 of them, I've never had any one of them, eat the eye or destroy the eye of another fish. So when people see them sometimes posted in Instagram or something like that, I get this, that emoji of, oh my God, your fish are going to be all one-eyed or blind, or and the name. I guess the name will make you think that. So number 5, eye biters. Misconception: eye biters will, they despite the name, they will not eat the eyes of all your fish. So now, are there exceptions to every one of these? Yes. This is based on my observation, and as my friend Evan likes to say, this is one of his Hap Nation t-shirts, Evan Alexander IFG. I'm just a stranger on YouTube, so take it with a grain of salt, do your own research, and go from there. So I hope that helps, and follow me on Instagram at ben.o.cichlid, and come join a friendly Facebook group, ben.o.cichlid on Facebook. Cichlids in the name, but everybody's welcome. And certainly be sure to hit that if you like this video, hit that like button, hit the bell so you get notifications, and And if you're wondering where Saturday's live stream went, there was some difficulty in the upload. It is trying to be fixed with YouTube. I've written to the YouTube support team so that if that live stream has disappeared altogether, I'll probably do another live stream that replicates that one in the middle of the week. I'll keep the notes, and maybe I can get the moderators to help, and we'll just do it again, and maybe do it at a different time, see who can show up at that time. All right. So thank you so much. You are appreciated. Happy holidays to you, and I hope you have a great Christmas season. Bye-bye.